6 of the Diddy trial, and Cassie Ventura took the stand and testified for nearly a full day about her relationship with Diddy. And I believe that the testimony was more intense, more sensational, and I think more disturbing than I or just about anybody realized it was going to be.
And there was a shocking recording played in the courtroom today. I don't know in the courtroom if there was a reaction, but kind of give the context to that and what the reaction was.
Presumed innocent until proven guilty. That defendant, of course, Sean Diddy Combs, walked.
In what may be the most shocking development yet in the ongoing Diddy trial, CNN has reportedly leaked official courtroom audio capturing a moment of visible panic from the hip-hop mogul during day 6 of the proceedings. As disturbing testimonies and mounting allegations continue to unfold against the Bad Boy Records founder, this newly surfaced audio adds an unexpected and dramatic twist to an already high-profile case. With millions around the world closely following every detail, the leak marks a pivotal and unprecedented moment in the courtroom saga.
Day 6, Diddy trial. I'm going to make this super fast because we have a short lunch break. But Diddy came in this morning, really seemed to be in good spirits, hugged his lawyer, Alexandra Shapiro, and Mark Agnifilo. And they had some discussions about witnesses getting certain testimonies struck. And at one point, Mark Agnifilo said something along the lines of that, this case is becoming based on gossip. He brought up the fact that there is a chef, Diddy's chef, is expected to testify, who was allegedly assaulted. And Agnifilo says, well, where is this in the indictment? This has nothing to do with racketeering, etc. And the government came back and said, look, the chef is a victim of forced labor. And there was a lot of discussion around this, but I want to give you one little piece of that before we go to Dawn Richard finishing her direct examination. Now, I'm going to make this kind of general, but Dawn Richard, she testified about the Cassie Skillet incident with Diddy.
On the 6th day of Sean Diddy Combs' trial, Cassie Ventura took the stand and delivered powerful testimony recounting the early days of their relationship. She revealed that at just 19 years old, shortly after signing with Bad Boy Records, Combs, who was then 37, introduced her to a world defined by heavy substance use and increasing control. Cassie alleged that she was coerced into drug use and subjected to escalating forms of abuse, including orchestrated intimate encounters with male adult workers, incidents that Combs allegedly recorded without her full consent.
Get into what she has already said. I just want to say that her husband is in the courtroom and the defense tried to get him removed, saying that they might call him up as a witness later. But the prosecutor pushed back, saying that Cassie is going to need her support system when she's on the stand. They ended up meeting in the middle, saying that he can stay, but he will have to leave once Cassie gets to 2018, where she alleges that Diddy had her. Now, throughout Cassie's testimony, it's being said that she was dabbing her eyes, she was emotional, and she was resting her hand on her belly. Obviously, we know Cassie as a 38-year-old pregnant woman, but she described meeting Diddy when she was just 19 years old. She was modeling in New York City, but after meeting, she signed a 10-album deal with his label, Bad Boy Records. She was very honest with her testimony. She talked about the fact that he was this larger-than-life entrepreneur, and she was a fan of his music. She said she was 21 when Diddy made his first move. She was in Vegas celebrating her birthday when Diddy, out of nowhere, kissed her in the bathroom. She was really confused. She was young and a new artist and didn't really know the lay of the land when it came to things.
Cassie also testified about a disturbing incident that took place in 2016, in which Sean Combs allegedly assaulted her in a hotel lobby. The event, she stated, was captured on surveillance footage, lending further credibility to her claims. Her testimony outlined a troubling pattern of manipulation and abuse that, according to her, began at the very outset of their relationship and continued over an extended period.
Really was a full day of testimony. It's the centerpiece of the prosecution's case. Cassie came to the stand. She is, of course, pregnant, and she was ready to testify about the full course of her relationship with Diddy. And remember, they were together for 10 years. This was a decade-long relationship, and that will come into play when the defense has an opportunity to cross-examine her and ask her about the terms of that relationship.
The whole idea of consent, yeah.
But this was her laying out the narrative in the prosecution's case in chief, and she squarely addresses that beating video in the Intercontinental Hotel in 2016. But even before then, they go back in time and said, when did these really start? And she really painted a picture of the very first where she says she was 22 years old. This occurred at one of Diddy's homes. She said it was highly directed. There was masquerade masks involved. There were escorts involved. There were at least 2 sessions in that first and the session was over when the escort, who had been paid for the services, was done.
The government is accusing Sean Combs of racketeering, sex trafficking, and transportation for the purpose of prostitution. And they painted a picture of how he ran his business and used his employees to conduct all of these crimes, including sex trafficking, kidnapping, arson. The defense, on the other hand, showed a different view of Sean Combs. They admitted that he has a lot of flaws, that he has a really bad temper, that he is guilty of domestic violence and sexual assault.
During her testimony, Cassie Ventura recounted instances highlighting Combs' intense jealousy, particularly concerning her interactions with other men. She described how Combs would become enraged over her professional and personal associations, perceiving them as threats to his control over her. One notable incident involved Combs' reaction to her communication with actor Michael B. Jordan during a filming project in South Africa. Cassie testified that Combs accused her of infidelity and exhibited aggressive behavior, underscoring his possessiveness.
At one point, Chris Brown's name was brought up, and it was mentioned in the context of Combs' defense team saying, you both would get jealous. And at one point, Diddy got jealous because you were dancing with Chris Brown at some sort of a nightclub or an event, and he took your phone and he wanted to see what was in your phone. So this is one of many instances that we're hearing about jealousy. We've also heard from the prosecutors that Combs was incredibly jealous when Cassie at one point was dating Kid Cudi, when she was dating actor Michael B. Jordan. So, you know, again, it's just another famous face that we're hearing about in the courtroom.
And I think people, when they hear that Chris Brown's name was brought up, expected it to go somewhere, but it kind of halted pretty quick and they moved on. Can you just kind of touch on that?
It was just a second. So there's so many headlines right now with celebrities being mentioned, from Michael B. Jordan to Britney Spears and now Chris Brown, but these are brief mentions.
During her testimony, Cassie Ventura directly accused Sean Combs of domestic violence and sexual assault, recounting a series of troubling incidents that underscored his controlling and abusive behavior. She spoke in detail about his intense jealousy, particularly when it came to her interactions with other men, both professionally and personally. One particularly striking example involved Combs' reaction to her communication with actor Michael B. Jordan during a film project in South Africa. According to Cassie, Combs accused her of being unfaithful and responded with aggressive outbursts, further illustrating the extent of his possessiveness and emotional volatility throughout their relationship.
Really getting into really the nuts and bolts of it. And remember, these are celebrities. They went to huge parties. They were at nightclubs. They were at events together. So it's only natural that those are the names that are in their orbit. But again, some of these names are coming up to paint Combs as being...
This pattern of jealousy, Cassie testified, wasn't limited to isolated incidents. It permeated multiple aspects of their relationship. She described how Combs' constant suspicions led to frequent verbal altercations, and in some instances, escalated to physical confrontations. Her detailed account painted a portrait of a deeply toxic dynamic, one defined by manipulation, emotional abuse, and a consistent effort by Combs to isolate and control her. According to the prosecution, these behaviors support their broader portrayal of Combs as someone who exercised coercive control over Cassie. His jealousy, they argue, wasn't just emotional, it was a deliberate tool used to dominate her, maintain power, and erode her autonomy throughout the course of their relationship.
There was a brief mention about a bipolar disorder, which Sean Combs has denied in the past. Kind of talk about how he's denied this, and wondering if maybe in the future of the trial we might learn more about it.
So there's been a lot of discussion about drug use on both sides. There's been a lot of talk about their state of mind and their mental health. At one point, Cassie talked about having gone to a treatment center for 45 days to recover from trauma that she experienced in the relationship. At another time, they actually talked about Combs going to rehab, and they talk about a video of him being in nature and trying to get help. But something interesting came up was when Combs' defense team referenced his bipolar disorder, and that's really the first time that we're hearing that he might actually have a diagnosed clinical condition. We know that he has talked about his temper, his mood swings. I mean, that's how he got his nickname, right? Puffy, because he huffs and
In November 2023, Cassie Ventura filed a civil lawsuit against Sean Combs, alleging a decade-long pattern of abuse, including sexual misconduct, physical violence, and psychological coercion. The case made headlines not only for its disturbing allegations, but also for how swiftly it was resolved. The lawsuit was settled the very next day for $20 million. During her recent testimony, however, Ventura expressed that no amount of money could undo the trauma she suffered. She stated she would willingly return the entire $20 million settlement if it meant reclaiming the years lost to abuse and regaining her sense of agency and autonomy. Sean Combs has denied all allegations and has pleaded not guilty to the criminal charges brought against him, which include trafficking and racketeering. As the trial continues to unfold, Ventura's testimony remains a pivotal element in the prosecution's case, offering a harrowing glimpse into the alleged pattern of control and abuse at the heart of the proceedings.
His ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura. Well, now we're hearing from the next witness. Her name is Dawn Richard. She will testify for the prosecution in just about an hour from now. Now, Dawn Richard, a former cast member on Combs' MTV reality show Making the Band and a member of Diddy's Dirty Money group, a former member. She last testified last week that in 2009, Combs beat Ventura and dragged her upstairs by her hair. She said at the time she then heard glass shattering and Ventura screaming. Now, we should note that Richard sued the music mogul last year, accusing him of physical abuse, groping, and psychological abuse during the years that they worked together. His representative denied the claims at the time. Now, Richard's testimony follows 4 days on the witness stand by Combs' ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura. Cassie Ventura testified she was forced into drug-fueled freak-offs, as they were described, with other men at Combs' direction.
During Sean Combs' ongoing federal trial, his legal team introduced a new angle in his defense, suggesting that an undiagnosed or previously undisclosed bipolar disorder may have played a role in his alleged misconduct towards singer Cassie Ventura in 2018. Ventura recounted the events of that night in court, describing Combs' behavior as erratic and unsettling. She testified that he wasn't in his right mind and failed to stop even when she repeatedly pleaded with him to do so. When questioned by prosecutors about whether she had previously suggested to investigators that Combs' behavior might be linked to bipolar disorder, Ventura responded, "I guess so." The defense's claim introduces a possible mental health component to the case, though it remains to be seen how significantly it will impact the prosecution's portrayal of Combs as someone who engaged in a long-term pattern of control and abuse.
Statements for Diddy's trial has officially begun. Prosecutors are done with their opening statement, and now it's Diddy's defense's turn. The federal prosecutor brought up Cassie's name immediately, saying that Diddy allegedly would have a worker urinate in her mouth during a freak-off. The attorney, Emily Johnson, also said that Diddy would force Cassie to have with male escorts while he sat there watching and recording. He said that Diddy would call the parties with these male escorts freak-offs, Wild King nights, or hotel nights. He said that his staff organized transportation and lodging and would set up the room with lubricant and lighting and would pay these workers with cash and provide them substances. He also said that Diddy was directing every step of this party and expected the women to act like they were enjoying themselves. When it came to Cassie, they say it all began at 19 when she had her hit single, and that he would often get violent with her. When Diddy found out that she was with another man, he flew into a rage, allegedly brutally beating her, kicking her in the back and flinging her like a rag doll, and blackmailing her by threatening to release a video of her of having with male escorts. Of course, brought up the surveillance video that many of us have seen and said that in one instance, Diddy stomped on her face in an SUV and made her stay in a hotel for a week to hide her injuries. They also say that if she took too long in the bathroom, he would beat her. They also bring up another alleged victim, someone who started hanging out with Diddy in 2020. She was a single mom and she started to fall in love with him before she was exposed to these parties. They say that Jane Doe thought the first time she had a freak off that it was a one-time thing, but it wasn't. They claim that she wanted the escorts to use protection, but Diddy wouldn't allow it, so she would take substances to get through the parties. Feds claim that she had vomited once, but Diddy had forced her to keep going. They also say that Diddy was violent with her and that he would blackmail her with these.
Dawn Richard delivered powerful testimony in court, shedding light on the alleged abuse she both witnessed and personally experienced while working closely with Sean Combs. A former member of the groups Donity Kane and Diddy, Dirty Money, Richard recounted several disturbing incidents involving Combs and his then-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. She testified to witnessing repeated acts of aggression, including instances where Combs allegedly punched, choked, and physically dragged Ventura. One particularly harrowing incident she described occurred in 2009, when an argument over breakfast reportedly escalated to violence. Combs allegedly struck Ventura with a skillet. Richard's testimony adds further weight to the prosecution's case, reinforcing claims of a long-standing pattern of physical abuse and intimidation within Combs' inner circle.
Promised females or males careers in whatever they wanted to do, whether it was management, whether it was music, whatever it was. He promised them the careers, which a lot of the lawsuits say that. And a lot of people have heard the same thing from R. Kelly. You're going to notice a lot of this stuff. If you're not aware of R. Kelly's case, this is a lot of the same stuff that they got R. Kelly under. And where is R. Kelly right now? In prison, rotting away. So this is the exact same thing, just at a, of course, higher level, because R. Kelly isn't nearly as rich as Diddy and nearly as big as Diddy is. Continuing on, physical abuse by Sean Combs, the defendant, was reoccurrent and widely known. On numerous occasions from at least in or about 2009 and continuing for years, Combs assaulted women by, among other things, like striking, punching, dragging, throwing objects at, and kicking them. That Combs referred to as, among other things, so they literally mention it in the indictment. Offs were elaborate and produced performances that Combs arranged, directed, and got off to. They're basically saying he was, pleasuring himself to this stuff, and often electronically recorded. So here's the thing. They're saying this stuff because they got video footage, and they talk about it a little bit later in a video that I'll show. In arranging these freak-offs, Combs, with the associates of members and associates of the Combs enterprise, transported and caused to be transported commercial sex workers across state lines and internationally. Freak-offs occurred regularly, sometimes lasted multiple days, and often involved multiple commercial sex workers.
These testimonies have also offered a revealing glimpse into the nature of Sean Diddy Combs' infamous private parties, described by witnesses as exclusive, tightly guarded events where only a select, trusted few were granted access. According to multiple accounts, these gatherings went far beyond typical celebrity entertainment. Witnesses described a disturbing atmosphere where boundaries were routinely crossed, with behavior that often left attendees, particularly those employed or managed by Diddy, feeling uncomfortable and unsafe. Now, these secretive events are under intense legal scrutiny, as the prosecution uses this pattern of conduct to help illustrate a broader environment of control, coercion, and alleged misconduct within Diddy's inner circle.
There's going to be people with crank calls and people with foolishness and people with malcontent, but we are sifting through that and trying to make sure that we identify and vet people that have real claims, legitimate, credible claims. Right now, we're talking about 120 people from 25 different states for conduct that occurred over 25 years. And a lot of these people were flown in. And this wasn't a secret. I mean, it was known that people were being flown in for these parties. People were being paid cash to attend these parties. People were being identified at clubs or at concerts or on the street even. And invited to these parties. So you have that group of people that are involved, and then you have another group, and maybe this is the more sinister situation where young people with stars in their eyes wanting to break into the entertainment industry with promises of stardom.
Sean Combs' influence within the music industry has long been marked by his strategic use of power, wealth, and control, particularly over artists and close associates. According to testimony and public statements, this control often manifested through financial dependency, manipulation of career opportunities, and the use of non-disclosure agreements, NDAs, to enforce silence. Former Bad Boy Records artist Mark Curry alleged that Combs leveraged the return of music publishing rights to pressure artists into signing NDAs, effectively silencing those who might otherwise speak out. This tactic, he claimed, created a culture of fear and compliance. Further supporting these claims, individuals such as Dawn Richard and Carrie Morgan testified about their own experiences of mistreatment and intimidation. Both described incidents where Combs allegedly issued threats against those who witnessed or attempted to expose his behavior, contributing to a broader narrative of coercive control and systemic abuse under the guise of industry mentorship and opportunity.
Now, Tanea described the scene as reminiscent of something from a movie, highlighting the surreal and disturbing nature of the event. Her testimony adds to the growing concerns surrounding the nature of these exclusive gatherings and their potential exploitation of vulnerable individuals.
In this industry, we could see our favorite rappers doing bisexual things and we could feel like we still didn't see it. It could be right in front of our face and we still won't believe it. People could tell us, we can feel it and we still won't believe it. But what I seen, I'm like, this is some funny, weird, freaky shit. And at the end of the day, these people are some weirdos. I'm not with this, No. So I go outside. P. Diddy is outside on the couch with the prince. He's already just jacking off. Well, I don't know what I can say. And he's already just, feeling like, okay, she's been in there. She's seen, when people feel comfortable and you're on their playground, right? They like, so what do you think? Basically are you with this shit or what? And I'm like, I'm not trying to be like the weirdo. It's kind of like when somebody offers you some or something at a party and it's like, oh no, I'm not going to do that. You try to make it seem like I'm not going to do that today. You guys are not weird. You guys aren't. But, so I'm not trying to offend anybody.
A legal professional involved in Sean Combs' ongoing trial has hinted that more influential figures may soon be implicated, though no specific names have been publicly revealed. This revelation has sent ripples of anxiety throughout the entertainment industry, sparking widespread speculation about who else might be connected to the broader case. As these developments continue to unfold, the possibility that additional high-profile personalities could emerge has heightened both curiosity and concern among fans, insiders, and
what was announced today in court is there is a new alleged victim, but it's not necessarily what you think.
Victim 5 is how the government refers to this person, someone that they want to testify against Diddy. But it's not a victim of the crimes that he is facing in this trial.
There are 4 alleged victims for which Diddy is accused of violating the law. 4 of them, 3 ex-girlfriends, 1 ex-employee. This person is not somebody where Diddy is charged with assaulting her or committing any crime.
Tana, an aspiring singer, shared a deeply unsettling account of her experience at a high-profile party hosted by Sean Combs. Invited by a Saudi prince, she arrived to find strict security protocols in place, including the collection of guests' phones to prevent any unauthorized recordings. Tana was then selected to enter a private area marked by the distribution of white shoes, where the atmosphere quickly became chaotic and disorienting. She observed numerous individuals engaging in explicit behavior, with many appearing intoxicated or under the influence of substances. Her testimony adds another layer of concern surrounding these exclusive events, highlighting the troubling environment that some attendees were subjected to behind closed doors.
Somebody who is going to testify, according to prosecutors, that this is Diddy's MO. Yeah. This is the way he operates.
That's exactly right. This is being referred to as victim number 5. It's not with respect to the charged offenses. It's what's called a prior bad acts or an MO witness under the rules of evidence. And they are going to allow her to testify in this trial. However, Judge Subramanian did say something interesting. He's not going to afford anonymity to this witness. So we'll have to see if that witness does take the stand. We're going to see who exactly that is.
The fact that they were asking for the anonymity makes me feel that that's something she wanted.
Probably.
Now, did she want? Is she now that she's not?
Is it a deal breaker?
Is it a deal breaker
I don't
for her?
know.
I mean, I'm sure prosecutors are going to be trying to convince her to still testify.
Yeah.
Tana described the scene as something straight out of a movie, surreal and deeply disturbing. Her testimony contributes to the mounting concerns about these exclusive gatherings, shedding light on how vulnerable individuals may have been exploited in such environments.
One thing that's been interesting during jury selection, Combs, like all criminal defendants, is required to be in the courtroom. And while he is known with this image of being a hip hop mogul, kind of this icon who threw those elaborate star-studded white parties, his attire in court is very different. He looks almost like a college professor. His hair has turned gray. He's been in custody at the federal jail in Brooklyn, and he is not wearing clothes that you would expect a recording artist to wear. He's wearing gray pants, a navy blue crew neck sweater with a white collar popping out of the top of it, reflecting the seriousness of these charges that he's facing.
I have a photo of Diddy. I did not smuggle a camera into the courthouse in any orifice, but this is a Photoshop photo, truly just for reference. Like, the sketch artists weren't doing it, the koala wasn't doing it. So we took an original photo of Diddy, and this is what we think he looks like now in the courthouse. Like, this is what we saw. Mainly it's the hair. So it's more white, and then the sides of his face are not as hairy. And then he just looks really pale. I don't think that he lost that much weight. I feel like this is a good representation of the weight that I saw when I saw him in court. And then he's wearing the white collared shirt with a navy crew neck, but it's a little less V. It's more circular. But that's what we think.
During Sean Combs' ongoing federal trial, several former associates and employees have come forward with crucial testimony, offering insight into the environment surrounding the music mogul. One such witness, a former insider who was not a victim, provided detailed accounts of private parties, exclusive gatherings, and business meetings. Their testimony consistently depicted Combs' behavior and the overall atmosphere within his inner circle, helping to paint a clearer picture of the dynamics at play behind the scenes. These first-hand observations have been instrumental in establishing both a timeline and context for the prosecution's allegations. The willingness of these individuals to come forward and speak out, even those not directly harmed, highlights the profound impact of the events within Combs' circle. Their testimonies add significant weight and credibility to the charges brought against him. Sean Combs' recent courtroom appearances have revealed a striking shift from his once flamboyant public image. Observers have noted a significant transformation in his appearance, attributing it to the immense toll of his ongoing legal battles and time spent in detention. During the trial, Combs has been seen with noticeably graying hair and a matching beard, a stark contrast to his previously polished and well-groomed look. Journalists and courtroom sketch artists alike have remarked on his thinner physique and more aged demeanor, suggesting that the stress and pressure of the proceedings are visibly taking a toll. One reporter described his appearance as astonishingly thinner and grayer, highlighting the dramatic change compared to his past public persona. He really looks like this trial is revealing some hard-hitting truths. What do you think about the leaked courtroom audio and Cassie's powerful testimony? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'm curious to hear your take.